Hello, my amazing children. This is Grandma Carla, and this is my granddaughter Ruth. And we are going to read for you Hank the Cow Dog. And this episode is The Case of the Mysterious Voice. And Hank the Cow Dog books were written by John R. Erickson. And the first chapter is going to be read to you by Miss Ruth.
Chapter 1. Sally Mae Plans a Picnic. It's me again, Hank the Cow Dog. The mystery began on Friday morning in May, as I recall. Yes, I'm sure it was May, because we'd finished branding our spring calves and were enjoying a period of quiet before the season started. Loper and Slim were sitting in lawn chairs in the backyard, drinking coffee and enjoying the cool of the morning. It was something they didn't do very often. Drover and I had finished our morning patrol and had assembled at the yard gate. There we watched and listened. Loper said, "It sure is peaceful out here." "Yep. Every once in a while, a man needs to slow down and notice the wonders of God's creation." "Yep. When do you reckon that will start?" Loper gave him a stern look. "Right now." "That's what we're doing. And we had a hard week getting the branding done, and now we can relax a little bit." Slim took a slurp of coffee. "Okay with me." Loper filled his lungs with fresh air and looked up at the sky. "For the next 2 days, I'm going to stick around the house, help Sally Mae with the yard work, and take care of those little fix-up jobs that always seem to get put off. I might even take Alfred fishing." Slim flashed a grin. "I've heard this before." "Oh yeah? Well, you just watch. A man needs to stop and smell the roses." "Loper, you wouldn't know a rose from a dandelion. And speaking of dandelions, you've got a bunch of them growing in your yard. I'll loan you my pocket knife if you want to start digging them up right now." "Thanks, I've got my own knife, and I'll put dandelions on my list of things to do." "That's just what I figured." Loper shook his head and muttered something under his breath. "Slim, do you know what your biggest problem is?" "Poverty." "Poverty?" "No, you have a sour attitude about your fellow man." "Not all of them, just the ones I know. $5 says that I spend the next 2 days doing chores around the house." "I hate to take money from a fool." Loper snapped his fingers. "Step up, son. We know you've got the mouth. Do you have the $5 to back it up?" Slim dug out his wallet and peeked inside. "Yes, I do, and I'm fixing to double it." "You're fixing to lose it, and when you do, I don't want to hear you whine and moan. A deal's a deal." Slim bobbed his head in agreement. "A deal's a deal." At that very moment, the back door opened, and out stepped, Sally Mae. All at once, I felt, sometimes when she shows up, I'm seized by terrible feelings of guilt. It's as though I've done something naughty and she knows it. She has these eyes that can penetrate skin and bones, don't you know, and she can see right into the gizzardly depths of a dog's soul. But the crazy thing was that, on that particular morning, my soul was as clean and pure as freshly fallen snow. There's a picture of Slim and Loper sitting on the porch with Hank and Drover. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't even thought about doing anything wrong. And yet, before I had a chance to think about it, I slipped into a program we call Leaving Town. I mean, it happened in a split second, and without even thinking about it, I began creeping for the nearest exit. But then I noticed an important detail. Sally Mae wore a radiant smile. If she picked up any naughty signals from me, she wouldn't have been smiling. I stopped slinking away and heaved a sigh of relief. "Drover, she seems to be in a good mood this morning." He had been staring off into space, and his eyes drifted down to me. "Oh, hi. What's good mud?" "Good mud?" Well, when you add good moisture to common dirt, you get good mud. And good mud is good for the plants and flowers. I love it when the grass is green and the flowers bloom. Yes, and we have had a nice spring, haven't we? Yeah, and if I could just get rid of these allergies. He sneezed. By those kids stopped up all but the time. He sneezed again. See what I beat? Yes, I see what you mean. I'm sorry you're having trouble. Figs. You're welcome. There was a moment of silence. Drover, you said something about good mud. Was there some special reason why you wanted to talk about mud this morning? I have no objections, but it seems a little odd. Have you been worrying about mud? He gave that some thought. Well, mud's always muddy. That's true. Good point. Does it bother you that mud is muddy? Not really. I don't think about mud that often. Yes, and that's my whole point. Most of us go through entire weeks and months without thinking about mud. Yet you brought up the subject. I did? You certainly did. You asked my opinion about good mud. His eyes blinked out. I'll be darned. What did you say? His eyes blinked out. I'll be darned. What did you say? I said, never mind. Why did you bring up the subject of mud in the first place? Well, let me think. He scowled and rolled his eyes around. Wait, I just remembered. You said Sally Mae found some good mud. I took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. Drover, please pay attention. I said that Sally Mae appears to be in a good mood. I'll be darned. I wonder why. I was trying to listen so that I could find out, but you started blabbering about mud. Stop talking about mud. Sorry. He sneezed. Gosh, baby. I be allergic goo bug. You're not allergic to mud, but you might be losing your marbles. I don't have any marbles. Maybe that's it. Drover does this all the time, you know. He pulls me into a conversation, and all at once, I realize that nobody has any idea what we're talking about. Sometimes I think, never mind. I left him alone with his runny nose and turned my attention back to the house, just in time to hear Sally Mae exclaim, I have an exciting announcement to make. Slim and Loafer sat up and looked at her. Loafer said, Oh. She clapped her hands together. I've invited the church choir out for a picnic tomorrow. While I go to town and shop for groceries, you boys can mow and rake and clean up the yard. Oh, and we've got a bunch of dandelions in the front yard. Sally Mae didn't notice the dead silence that had fallen over the cowboy crowd, but I did. Loafer's eyes darted around for a moment. Then he glanced at his watch and stood up. Hon, that sounds great, but I've got an appointment with the accountant at 9. I'd better get moving. Give Slim a list of things to do. Sally Mae went back into the house, leaving Slim and Loafer alone. Slim's face had turned to cement. Loafer, most people think you're a low-down skunk, not me. I think you're worse than that. Don't take it personally. I really do need to go to the accountant. Yeah, and it's odd that you didn't think about it until your wife pulled out the honey-do list. Loafer shrugged. We all have our gifts and talent. You're better at yard work than I am. How would you know? The last time you did any yard work, you were in the 3rd grade. Loafer cackled. You know, hardship seems to bring out your sense of humor. By this afternoon, you'll be right up there with Mark Twain. Slim leaned forward and glared at him. Hey, Loafer, I hired into this outfit as a cowboy. Remember cowboys? They do things with a horse and catch a rope. Loafer tossed down the last swig of coffee. Well, you're never much good at either one, so we're trying to find little jobs to keep you out of trouble. I'll get back as soon as I can. Wilbur headed for the house. Slim's glare followed him. I know you will. Hey, aren't you forgetting something? Wilbur stopped and turned around. What? Slim stuck out his hand. $5, buddy. A deal is a deal. Wilbur came back, dug his wallet out of his hip pocket, and laid a $5 bill across Slim's palm. Slim, that's the best $5 I ever spent. Be happy in your work. Whistling a tune, Wilbur went into the house. Slim remained in his chair for another minute, fuming in silence.